Right now, somewhere in the world, a woman is being told not to touch the food. Not because of germs, not because of hygiene, because of a taboo older than written language itself. You probably think this is a relic of ignorance, but the real answer is far stranger. Menstruation is not just biology. It is one of the oldest social forces on Earth. It shaped huts, calendars, myths, and maybe even language itself. And your ancestors did not treat it the way you might assume. Start with the body. Every month, roughly half the human population bleeds for several days. This has been happening for as long as humans have existed. So the question is not whether ancient people noticed. Of course they noticed. The question is what they did about it. For most of human history, there was no shame vocabulary for this. There was only meaning, and meaning is powerful. Meaning organizes entire societies. Consider the Dogon people of Mali, studied extensively by anthropologist Beverly Strassmann in the 1990s. She spent years living among them, tracking menstrual cycles with a precision almost no researcher had attempted before. What she found reshaped how scientists think about menstrual huts. The Dogon women used a separate building during their periods. Outsiders assumed this was punishment. Strassmann discovered something different. The hut was not exile. It was information. In a society without calendars or pregnancy tests, the hut told every man in the village exactly who was fertile, who was not, and who might be pregnant. It was a biological broadcast system built from architecture instead of language. That reframes everything, doesn't it? Now, go back further, much further, to the Upper Paleolithic, tens of thousands of years before Mali, before agriculture, before permanent settlements of any kind. Anthropologist Chris Knight proposed a controversial but influential idea in his book Blood Relations. He argued that menstrual synchrony among early human females may have driven one of the biggest social revolutions in our species' history, the sexual division of labor. His theory suggests that women, bleeding together in rhythm with the moon, use that shared biological signal to coordinate, to say no to men during certain phases, to demand meat in exchange for sex during others, a kind of ancient negotiation written into the body itself. Is it fully proven? No. Anthropology rarely deals in certainty, but the theory forces a rethink. Menstruation was not hidden. It may have been leverage. Picture it. No spoken contracts. No written laws. Just blood, timing, and collective female coordination, shaping the earliest human societies. Now shift to symbolism. Ancient cave art across Europe, dating back over 20,000 years, includes red ochre markings that some researchers believe represent menstrual blood. Ochre was not decoration. It was ritual. It was applied to bodies, to walls, to the dead. Blood in general held enormous power in the ancient mind. It meant life. It meant death. Menstrual blood meant both at once. A woman bleeding without dying was, to early humans, almost supernatural. That is why so many cultures did not see menstruation as dirty. They saw it as dangerous in the way lightning is dangerous. Not evil, just powerful enough to require rules. Here is where the story gets more complicated. Not every culture treated menstrual power the same way. Some celebrated it. Some feared it. Some did both. Anthropologist Alma Gottlieb, who spent decades researching the Beng people of Ivory Coast, documented a culture where menstruation was linked directly to fertility rituals and communal identity, not shame. Menstruating women in some contexts were seen as spiritually potent, closer to the forces that create life. In other documented societies, the opposite pattern appears. Menstrual blood was treated as contaminating, something that could weaken hunters or spoil food. Anthropologists still debate why these beliefs diverge so sharply across cultures. One theory is ecological. Societies dependent on precise hunting. Outcomes where a single mistake could mean starvation developed stricter taboos around anything perceived as risky, including menstruation. Societies with more stable food sources had more room for menstruation to be viewed as sacred rather than threatening. Scarcity bred fear. Abundance bred reverence. Think about how strange that sounds today. The same biological event feared in one valley and worshipped in the next, purely because of how easily people could find food. And this is where your modern life quietly connects to all of it. You live in a world of tampon commercials, with blue liquid instead of red. You live in a world where period products are sometimes taxed as luxury items. You live in a culture that still, in many places, treats menstruation as something to whisper about, rather than explain plainly. That whisper has a very long ancestry. The taboo did not start with modern religion. And it did not start with modern patriarchy alone, though both reinforced it heavily over time. It started with something far more basic: uncertainty. Ancient humans lived surrounded by forces they could not explain. Weather, death, birth, blood that flowed without injury and without killing. When you cannot explain something, you build rules around it. Rules become rituals. Rituals become taboos. Taboos outlive the reasons that created them. That is the pattern behind almost every ancient superstition that still echoes today. Here is the twist most people never hear. In many hunter-gatherer societies, menstrual seclusion was not punishment at all. It was often requested by the women themselves. Strassmann's research among the Dogon found that women sometimes valued the hut as a break from domestic labor, a rare space of female-only rest and conversation. What outsiders read as oppression may, in some cases, have functioned closer to a monthly retreat. Anthropology is full of these reversals. What looks like control from the outside can look like autonomy from the inside, depending entirely on who holds the story and who gets to interpret it. That is worth sitting with the next time you assume you understand a tradition just by glancing at it. So where does that leave you? Your body still runs on the same ancient rhythm. Your ancestors tracked using huts, ochre, moon cycles, and myths. The biology never changed. Only the meaning around it did, culture by culture, valley by valley, century by century. Some societies turned it into shame. Others turned it into power. Almost none of them treated it as boring because it never was boring. It was, and still is, one of the most socially loaded biological events a human body performs. Right now, somewhere in the world, a woman is still being told not to touch the food. But somewhere else, in a different village, on the same planet, another woman is honored for the very same thing. Same blood, same body, completely different story. And the real answer to why is not written in biology at all. It is written in everything humans built around it.